I think we got a heck of a shot of winning. We can beat anybody in the world, and I think we're going to win next Sunday.
David Wells has pitched a perfect game. 27 up, 27 down. Baseball immortality for David Wells.
And it's hit deep to left center. Andrew Jones on the run. This one has a chance. Home run! Mike Piazza, and the Mets lead 3-2. Bates against Joseph. Bates in on goal. Shoots. Metho! Defend Metho! And the Rangers have one more hell of a time, baby!
This is the Cross Island Sports Network, where iconic moments get iconic coverage.
You are listening to
the Cross Island Podcast. Action! Hosted by Lyle, Gillen, and Errol Marks.
Welcome.
You are listening to the Cross
Another show of the Cross Island Podcast. My name is Errol Marks. My co-host, Mr. Lyle Gillen. Lyle, what's up, bud?
I am doing awesome. Can't wait to have a fantastic show.
Yes, we have a great show lined up for you guys. We'll get into the New York Jets sitting for now on for the rest of the season. Zach Wilson, as it was decided over the weekend after that terrible loss against the Buffalo Bills. So we will get into that. We will get into the New York Giants winning not one, not two, but 3 games this season to make them 3-8 for the NFL season. So we will get into the Giants' big win against the Washington Commanders. We will get into the New York Islanders as they have been playing absolutely horrible hockey, but winning this weekend against Calgary in a shootout. So what does that say about the Islanders? Are the Giants still competing to make the playoffs? We'll get into that. The New York Rangers are one of the hottest teams on ice. They're playing great hockey. Peter Laviolette is pushing all the right buttons, and we will get into the New York Rangers and the New York Knicks playing pretty good basketball as well, as the Knicks are picking up their game. Now, obviously, it's still early in the season, but I do believe the Knicks, the way they're playing, are definitely a playoff team, and the Brooklyn Nets also playing back and forth basketball as well. So let's get into it. The New York Jets this past weekend, going into the game, they were 4-5. The Buffalo Bills were 5-5. A lot of questions going into the game. Is this the end of one or the other? Now, whoever won this game, a lot of people believe we're still in playoff contention. Whoever loses this game would probably be out of playoff contention. And going into the game, a lot of Jet fans thought that, obviously, in game number 1 this season, losing Aaron Rodgers, they were going to make this game close with the defense the way it was playing. I think they were ranked all around number 1 in the NFL going into the game, and they only gave up 1 touchdown by a wide receiver all season long. And then going into this game, everybody thought going into Buffalo that this was going to be a fun game. Maybe if Zach Wilson is just efficient, the Jets would have been close in this game against a Buffalo Bills team that's fighting a lot of injuries this year. Josh Allen hasn't played well this year. So there was a lot of questions going into the game with Buffalo as well. But what we saw on Sunday afternoon was what we've been seeing over the last couple of weeks, is that Zach Wilson is not the quarterback of the future for the New York Jets. And you sit here, and a lot of people, I've been sticking up for Zach Wilson for the last 2 seasons. And a lot of the reason why is because of Mike LaFleur. I didn't think Mike LaFleur was a good offensive coordinator, young offensive coordinator, first-time offensive coordinator, as we all know who his brother is, Matt LaFleur, as he's the head coach for the Green Bay Packers. You thought that maybe if you change, obviously, offensive coordinators and you bring in Nathaniel Hackett, and then you bring in a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who's going to help train this kid and teach this kid how to see things for what a quarterback should be seeing it in the NFL. He really just didn't get it. The speed of the game is too fast for him. Maybe New York is too much pressure on him. He was not the same quarterback he once was in BYU.
No, he isn't. And you could really tell how much he's struggling watching that game against Buffalo. But I just want to point out, I don't think no matter who we have in quarterback right now, or I shouldn't say we, the New York Jets, have that quarterback right now, The offense is not going to work. Does not matter if it's Tim Boyle or Trevor Siemian. I'll go even as far as to say Aaron Rodgers if he was under center right now. The offensive line is absolutely depleted. So the running game can't get started because Brees can't do anything. Don't have any offensive linemen to create any holes. There is nothing around any of the offense right now. They are taking absolutely crazy undisciplined penalties. I don't think no matter who the quarterback is, the offense is going to be able to do anything. Aaron Lazard can't catch a football to save his life. You have teams knowing that and double teaming Garrett Wilson. So there is nothing I don't know what a Tim Boyle can come in and really do right now that is going to be different with everything that's around him. That's the same as Zach Wilson. You're still going to have the issues where they're taking stupid penalties. Still going to have the offensive line being depleted. You're still going to have Brees Hall not being able to get open holes in order to run. You're still going to be double teaming Garrett Wilson. There's not going to be a difference. I don't see anything that's going to be different around him. It's going to make him come out and play better. It's not like we're getting to the red zone every time and he can't get into the end zone. He did that a few games ago, but he had a game against the Raiders where they had two different plays back to back where they had a touchdown, two dumb penalties that took that back. If those penalties don't happen, that's a different game.
And you lose Mekhi Becton. We don't know how bad his injury is. He's having an MRI today, or I think tomorrow, with an ankle. He could be out for the rest of the season. If some people think he could have fractured something, maybe tore a ligament in his ankle. So if he tore something in his ankle, his season is over. We saw what happened on Thursday Night Football to Joe Burrow. So there's a lot of questions to this offensive line. Dwayne Brown hasn't stayed healthy. There's been a tremendous amount of excuses for the New York Jets. And I'm as a New York Jet fan, I sit here today and I'm wondering what's next for the Jets. Now, Tim Boyle isn't going to win you a Super Bowl.
No.
He isn't going to take you to the next level. But Tim Boyle could be more efficient than Zach Wilson. Anybody could be more efficient than Zach Wilson. Listen to these numbers yesterday. Obviously, the Jets lost 32-6. Zach Wilson was 7 for 15, 81 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. That was the first touchdown he threw in almost 4 games. When you look at what weapons you have in Brees Hall and even Garrett Wilson, even Alan Lazard, who's not having a good season, and
an awful season.
Yeah, and Tyler Conklin, who's not even seeing the ball. They're not throwing the ball enough to him. You question what this team is doing offensively. Now, everybody's going to throw Nathaniel Hackett under the bus. Now, and Nathaniel Hackett has not had a very good season as an offensive coordinator. We all know that.
But here's the thing. Nathaniel Hackett planned for this entire year under a quarterback that knew how to read it off defense. Now we have Zach Wilson under center who can't do that. So he has to dumb down his playbook the same way Matt LaFleur did.
Yeah, well, I don't think Mike LaFleur was any good of an offensive coordinator. He's now working over there with the LA Rams, and he is the offensive coordinator there, even though we all know Sean McVay is calling the plays there. Mm-hmm. But he's going to make Mike LaFleur look good. Now, you look back and you wonder, what could the Jets have done better when they drafted Zach Wilson? And there's a lot of questions with that, and I will get into that on my show tomorrow. But I will say this. When you look at the New York Jets as a whole right now, and as good as their defense is, they're a top 5 defense. Going into the game, they were ranked all around number 1 in the league. They have fallen at least 3 or 4 spots because of the bad game that they had against Buffalo. And it wasn't really because of their defense. Their defense made some mistakes. They gave up a touchdown, a 30 or 40-yard touchdown by a wide receiver that we haven't seen all season long. It really has been a dominant secondary this year. And they lost Adams early in the game. He tore.
That hurt them.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to his finger, but something happened. I think he had a dislocated finger. I haven't really looked at where he is and if
it looks like it was jammed in the picture I saw.
I don't know. It looked
pretty gruesome.
Yeah, so I don't know if he's going to come back, but losing Adams was a big problem, and he's been very efficient as a safety for the New York Jets this year, taking over for Clark after losing Clark to a season-ending injury in the preseason. There's again, you look at the Jets as a whole, you wonder where they're going, and you wonder what this team is. And Robert Saleh has a lot to be blamed for on this, because you sit here and Robert Saleh, he was at a press conference today, and he said some interesting things, and he said, when they asked him, could you have done something different when drafting Zach Wilson, he said, I had my thoughts. I have my thoughts. I explained it to Joe Douglas, but that's as far as I'm getting. I'm not telling you guys anymore. What it tells you is he didn't want Zach Wilson. He didn't want Zach Wilson. He had no interest in Zach Wilson. It seems like it was Joe Douglas's choice.
Where do you think the Jets are right now if they kept Sam Darnold that year?
Well, first of all, they got a second and a fourth for Sam Darnold, and they used that to obviously land pretty good players.
They did, yeah.
I can't sit here and say, well, you didn't get anything for Sam Darnold. You got an efficient package for Sam Darnold. But where would the Jets be? They would be better than 4-6 right now. I think Sam Darnold wins at least 2 more games. I think he's a much more efficient quarterback, and maybe under the tutelage of Nathaniel Hackett and some of the weapons that he has right now, he's a different quarterback. The Jets haven't had the weapons like Garrett Wilson.
They never did.
So I think he'd be more efficient. He might be a different quarterback right now for the New York Jets. And I never wanted to get rid of Sam Darnold.
I didn't either. I thought that it was very unfair to blame him for everything that happened when, like, you look at it, the third year he really struggled, but you look at the second year he did progress from that. And when you had that psycho Adam Gase as the head coach, you're really kind of limited to what you could expect from him. But you put him under center right now. If he has Breece Hall, if he has Garrett Wilson, I'm not saying that he's going to be this franchise quarterback, but I think it's a lot more interesting of a team.
Why couldn't he be a franchise quarterback? He was throwing over 3,000 yards the 2 or 3 seasons he was there for the New York Jets. He was playing. He just was very injury prone. I saw games that I thought he looked as efficient as a quarterback than we've ever seen Zach Wilson look. So you look at Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson is just not an NFL style of quarterback. And I know a lot of people, a.k.a. Jeff and everybody telling me, I told you he wasn't going to be any good and you thought he was going to be the best quarterback in this class. Yes, when I watched him play for BYU, he made every single throw. He was efficient inside and out of the pocket. He can run. He can make every single throw. He was as good a quarterback coming out of college as we saw any one of those guys, Trevor Lawrence and even Justin Fields. He did play for BYU, and BYU is coming from obviously a conference is not as good as an SEC conference or Big 12 or a Big 10 conference, but he came from a conference that he played very well in. Now, you sit here and you wonder, what could have the Jets done better to develop this kid? And one thing that I look at really, and it was not babying him. You've been babying him from the beginning. He threw himself under the bus against the Patriots in the second game they played last year when he made an excuse that when they asked him, do you blame yourself? He says, no. He sat there. He didn't take responsibility. A lot of players did not like that. When you sit there and you're the quarterback and you're making the money that you're making, you're the leader at that, at the helm, you sit there and you take the responsibility. You take every responsibility if you're not playing well, your team's not playing well. He did not want to do that. And then the story is coming out in the summertime with his mother's friend and his girlfriend. I mean, that didn't look good for him going into the season. Everybody made a joke about him falling on his ass in the third quarter and really embarrassing himself. And everybody was laughing, including the announcers. And he was smiling. I didn't think that was funny. I thought it made him look even more dumber than he was behind the line of scrimmage. There's a lot of questions for the Jets. And honestly, if you look back right now and the Jets lose the rest of the season, they don't win one more game. They have the Miami Dolphins this week. I think they have the Atlanta Falcons, then Miami again. Then they have the Washington Commanders.
There's a chance they could do that and completely lose out the rest of the way.
And they did this last year. They were 7-3, and in the second half of the season, they lost every single game. If that happens, does Robert Saleh keep his job? Even with Aaron Rodgers coming back next year? That's a good question.
It's a very good question, and I think ultimately they do give him another chance because when Aaron Rodgers goes down and your entire offensive line goes down, it changes the entire situation. And I think Joe Douglas, his job is safe. He did everything he could. He got them the Hall of Fame quarterback. I think there is at least one more year with this pair. And then if they can't do anything, then they'll let Saleh go. Douglas will hire a new head coach. And if that doesn't work out, then I think they both go.
I do believe that if this season falls apart for the Jets and they don't win one more game starting now, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, almost 10 games you lose in a row, or 9 games in a row. There's no way Robert Saleh keeps his job. No way, not with this defense. You cannot keep your job if you can't win one more game. Actually, win 6 games. The Jets were expected to win 8 to 9 games this year. Now, all of a sudden, I understand
they were expecting 8 to 9 with Aaron Rodgers.
Well, I understand that, but even with Aaron Rodgers, a lot of people, including yours truly, thought they could have won 11 or 12 games. A lot of experts on ESPN and NFL Network, they all thought they were going to win 11, 12 games with Aaron Rodgers, even with the deficiencies of the offensive line. And going into the season, I did not expect this offensive line to be overpowering. I heard what Lincoln Tomlinson said before the season started. We could be one of the best offensive lines. I thought he was out of his mind. I do like Tittman. I think Tittman's going to be a very good player. Elijah Vera Tucker, if he could actually stay on the field, he's a very good player. But that's it. There's nothing else.
What are you playing for next season to fix the offensive line?
I don't know. I think you bring in veterans.
We can't really sit there and want to put out Mekhi Becton. This is the 3rd year in a row where he's had an injury.
Mekhi Becton's not coming back. If this ankle is season ending or he doesn't come back for the rest of the season, there's no way the Jets bring him back next year. No.
I feel bad for the kid. I really do. He's worked his ass off to try and get back this year, and he's been playing well.
Well, he's not coming back next year, especially this is the 3rd year in a row he's injured. He's done as far as the New York Jets are concerned. And I'm going to tell you this right now, as good as Elijah Vera Tucker is on paper of what we've seen, the little bit we've seen him, if he doesn't stay healthy next year, he's gone too. Yeah. As good as he is, there's no way the Jets are going to extend him. There's no way. I think this year is his extension year, I think. If I'm not
mistaken. I think he has 1 more year left.
All right, so he's got 1 more year left.
He was 1 year after Becton.
Yes. If this guy cannot stay on the field next year, he's gone too. As good as he is, and as good as everybody says he could be. I mean, he was the starting right tackle. He was fantastic. They didn't give up a sack for like 3 weeks, and then he got injured again. And a season-ending injury. It seems like it was his pec. Now it's his ACL. The guy can't stay healthy. So I don't even know if it was the ACL. Maybe it was
it was Achilles.
Yeah,
it was Achilles, and it was the elbow.
No, it was a pec. It was his pec last year.
Was it? I thought it was something with his elbow.
No, it was his pec. He tore his pec last year. So you look at Elijah Vera Tucker, he might be not part of this team and the future of this organization. So there's a lot of questions with the Jets and what they have to do in the offseason. And I was estimating numbers on what they can get rid of. Now, right now, if the season were to end, the Jets have $14 million that they can spend. Now they could drop next year, the CBA and the way the new league's extension for the CBA, they get $16 million more. So the Jets will have, going into next season, as far as we know, $30 million. Now, if they renegotiate CJ Mosley's deal, I think he's going to make up close to 19 or 18 million. They're going to have to renegotiate that deal. They get rid of Corey Davis's contract, which they'll probably do at the end of the season. Lincoln Tomlinson's going to have to be gone. They cannot bring him back. They're going to have to get rid of that contract. There's a couple of pieces that the Jets are going to have to move. Carl Lawson, they're going to trade because it doesn't hurt dead cap as far as what I've seen. So Carl Lawson's still going to make $6.5 million on this team or off this team. So the Jets are going to have to trade him for something in the offseason because he's done nothing for the Jets this year. But if they get rid of all the contracts that I think are not worthy to bring back, they will have at least $55 to $60 million.
They could get there. And they're probably going to trade Zach after June 1st.
They're going to let him go. They're not even going to trade him.
No, they have to trade him. If they do that, they're going to have a $20 million cap hit.
What are they going to get for him? What are they going to get?
They're not going to get anything. They're going to take like a 7th round pick or something, but they're going to have to trade him after June 1st.
So I don't know what they do with Zach Wilson.
They save like $3-4 million by doing that. That's the best option that they have.
They're going to have to give a pick to get rid of him.
Yeah, that's very possible. Give up a mid-round pick and Zach Wilson for like a 7th. I can picture them doing that.
I would give up a 5th and Zach Wilson for a 7th. That's what's going to have to happen because no team's going to really want anything to do with Zach Wilson. He's there's no way he could be fixed. I don't see it. Even if you went to Kyle Shanahan or Dable, there's nobody that can fix that kid.
See, here's the thing. Every coach that is a good coach or every GM that's a very good GM has an ego, and they all think they could be Mr. Fix-It. There is going to be somebody out there that's going to look at his tape from college and think, I can fix him. And they're going to take a chance at giving up a 7th-round pick and try and fix him.
Well, maybe they do that. I don't know why anybody would want to. But again, I think he's the worst quarterback I've ever seen, not only in New York Jets history, in NFL history. I've watched a lot of football in my time. He is as bad of a quarterback as I ever seen one be. There is no excuses to what we have seen over the last couple of weeks. I heard that supposedly there was a story that came out that when they came to him and they told him today that they were moving him, that he was no longer the starter for the New York Jets, he fell down and started to cry. That's what I heard. And
I don't know how true that is, but
the Jets actually sent him home. That's what I heard. So he's not even the backup quarterback. He's a 3rd-string quarterback. He might not even be sitting on the sidelines. That I don't think he should, because the Jet fans might kill him. So it's just everybody is spoken. I think the Jets have spoken on what they think of him. I think Robert Saleh came out and said what he felt today about him. I don't think it was anything hidden that we saw on what he said at that press conference. It's telling everybody that he didn't want Zach Wilson. He never wanted Zach Wilson. He was told by Joe Douglas and by ownership, that's the guy that's going to take us to the next level. And he wasn't. And they were wrong. They were wrong. And Saleh will not say that because he doesn't want to throw anybody under the bus. But you could see it in Saleh's face. He is so disgusted with what he's seen over the last couple of weeks. And he has a lot to blame. And that's all I'm going to say. If the Jets lose out on their games, they're in a big load of trouble. So there you go. I don't know what happened to Lyle. What happened to you? You end the stream.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, the stream's ended. It says, "Oh, it's still on." Oh,
it's still on.
I don't know what happened to you, man.
No, I was like lagging really bad, and I think I got kicked out.
All right, so now I want to get into the New York Giants and going into that game. There were a lot of questions. Were the Giants going to lose out? Right now, going into that game, not right now, but going into that game, they had the number 2 pick. And everybody thought that's where they were going to sit. The Giants were going to sit at 2. The Patriots are going to sit at 3. And then Carolina will sit at 1. So 1, 2, 3, you have 3 quarterbacks off the board. Boy, were everybody wrong. I think we understand what kind of coach Dable is. He is not going to lose out. He's not that type of coach. And he showed you why he was coach of the year last year. And I thought what showed me a little bit more of understanding who Dable is and the type of coach Brian Dable is watching Tommy DeVito the last 2 weeks. Watched him against the Jets when he came in. He looked horrible. They didn't even throw the ball with Tommy DeVito. They ran the ball every single time. And then last week, he still barely threw the ball, still learning the offense. I think he threw the ball like 15, 14 times. Mm-hmm. This week, he threw the ball 18 times, 18 for 26, 246 yards, 3 touchdowns. He was so efficient on his leg.
He did a very good job this week.
Yes, he did. And he got hit. He got tortured. I think he was sacked 9 times. And he stood in the pocket. He took a beating. And you have to give this kid a lot of credit. And you got to give Brian Dable a lot of credit as a head coach, because going into this game, nobody thought they had a chance. And Howell, who everybody thought, to me, he was dominating. Sam Howell had another good week in fantasy. He actually came out, and even though everybody expected him to outplay the Giants and Tommy DeVito, he got outplayed by Tommy DeVito. 31 for 45, 255 yards, 1 touchdown, and 3 interceptions. The Giants secondary was all over the place, and their defense. I mean, the blitz packages they used in this game to throw Sam Howell off, and this offensive line off was immaculate. It was fantastic.
You know, I have to say, and that's the one and the Giants fans should really cherish that. They have that from Dable, because it's very hard to get a coach that really knows how to teach a quarterback. And that's the one thing that the Jets have been missing for every year they had drafted a young quarterback. They didn't have a coach that knew how to teach them, and now they just take this kid who's living with his parents, and Daboll knows how to teach him. He did phenomenal, and he throws 3 touchdowns. And I think, in my opinion, the Giants should continue to build around DeVito for the rest of the season. No, for the rest of this season.
No, right now.
Continue to teach him. Continue to let him run the team. And
he's going to start for the rest of the season.
But at the end of the year, you should make the decision. Do you think he's good enough to have a year to start the year after and draft Marvin Harrison and then give him a weapon and see what he can do?
No, the Giants are going after a quarterback. If they're drafting in the top 6, they're going after a quarterback. They cannot go into the season next year. Daniel Jones coming off an ACL tear. I cannot see that. And again, you look at Tommy DeVito. Tommy DeVito looked good, but he's not the future. He's really a pro backup for the rest of his career. He could be with the Giants like David Carr was with the Giants for all those years, backing up Eli Manning. And that's fine. Tommy DeVito could be a good backup for the future. Tyrod Taylor, after losing him, I think he's done with the New York Giants. I don't think he comes back for the rest of the year. I'll be very surprised.
Unfortunately not. I'm a fan of his, Yeah. He's a Virginia Tech quarterback.
And I think Daniel Jones has 1 more year left on that contract. After next year.
Oh, he's getting cut after that. He's gone.
Yeah, I think that they're drafting a quarterback no matter what. It's not going to be Marvin Harrison Jr. As much as a lot of Giant fans would be very excited and very happy about that. I think it's 1, 2, 3. Right now, I don't know. I don't know where the draft stock, where the draft falls as far as I'm concerned. But the Giants, I'm looking it up right now. Draft 2024. Draft 2024 Tankathon. That's what I'm trying to look for right now. Tankathon 2024. Here it is. Right now, it would be Chicago because they get Carolinas. Mm-hmm. So they would be 1, and that would be Caleb Williams. Number 2 would be Arizona. And Arizona don't need a quarterback. They have Kyler Murray. It'll be Marvin Harrison Jr.
You really think they're going to keep Kyler Murray?
Oh, 100%. They just gave him an extension. He looks pretty good. He looked good yesterday. They almost won that
head case, man.
Yeah, but he's a good quarterback. Number 3, the Patriots, Drake May. He goes number 3. And then obviously number 4, it would be Chicago again. And they would get the offensive lineman, Alu Fashanu from Penn State. And then at number 5, they're saying offensive tackle from Notre Dame, Joe Alt. I don't think that happens. I think the Giants go after a quarterback, and I don't know who's on the board still, but it could be anybody.
I'm going to say right now, if the New York Jets lose out,
it'd be Penix.
If the New York Jets lose out and they end up getting a top 10 pick, I want them to draft that quarterback from Michigan. Let him sit behind McCarthy.
McCarthy? I don't want McCarthy.
Let him sit behind Rodgers a couple of years, and then let him play. I think he's a good quarterback. He has some very good tools, I think, to build off of, and I would like to give him the chance. They're not going to be up there to get a top 5 pick like May or like ideally I would like May. I think May is going to be the best quarterback in this draft class, but.
They're saying right now the Jets, this in Tankathon, they say the Jets would be 11th and they would draft Malik Neighbors, who is the LSU wide receiver who's having an unbelievable season, 80 receptions, 1,424 yards and 12 touchdowns. He's actually played better than Marvin Harrison Jr. And they're saying, but I don't see that if they're going to obviously make a trade for a wide receiver. And they probably are going to trade for what's his name again from Vegas? They're going to go that way. Obviously for Aaron Rodgers and really the position that they're in. I think that the Jets are ready to win now. Why would they draft a wide receiver and not try to win with Aaron Rodgers? I don't think Malik Neighbors would be there. I think Malik Neighbors would be there. I don't think the Jets are going to draft him. I think the Jets will draft a quarterback if it falls in the top 10. If they fall in the top 10, they draft a quarterback. If not, they're going to go offensive line. in the first round. And I think that's what they're going to do. They're going to find a tackle. The good tackles are going to go off the board pretty quick. Joe Alt or whatever his name is. He's 6'8", 315-pound Notre Dame player. He could fall out of the top 10. I don't think he will. If he falls to Washington, I think the Commanders might draft him. I could see Green Bay drafting him because Bakhtiari probably is gone at the end of this year. There's a lot of teams that would be interested in bringing in an offensive lineman that good. So I don't know if the Jets are going to get a chance to do that. So the Jets are going to have to be very smart. Maybe they trade out of that pick. Maybe they give up their first round draft pick and try to stock up because they did lose their second round pick to Green Bay because of the Aaron Rodgers trade.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of thoughts to where the Jets could go in the draft, but the Jets could fall in the top 10. If they fall in the top 10, do you not draft a quarterback? Because who knows? I could see Arizona winning at least 1 or 2 more games. I could see Chicago winning at least 1 or 2 more games. The Jets, and if the Jets lose out, they could jump all the way up to the top 5.
I think the Jets are going to fall top 7. I think my gut tells me they're going to be in the top 7, probably that 5 to 7 range, and it's going to be interesting. They're going to have some decisions there.
And then, like I said, the Giants, when you look at the quarterback position, I would say the Giants would go 5 at quarterback. And everything that I've read, if the Giants are in the top 5, they're going quarterback. So I understand that offensive line would definitely be efficient. And to me, what they've been dreading and looking for, but bringing that offensive lineman to help Thomas out on the other side, I don't know if that's the route the Giants go. I think they need a quarterback to sit behind Daniel Jones for 1 more year. You part ways with Daniel Jones, and then you give him at least a year to figure it out where he is and what type of player he is as behind Daniel Jones. Now, I love what I saw. Okay.
Who's available for quarterback in the draft after this in 2025?
2025, I don't know.
Is there anyone that's like a big name at the top?
I don't know. I don't.
Because if there is, and you're the Giants,
there's going to be quarterbacks.
If you are, and you're the Giants, and there's a quarterback you really love at the top of that draft, and there's an offensive lineman you really love at the top of this draft, I say it's smarter to start with the offensive lineman. Then you have next year where you have Daniel Jones. Give him that 1 more year to see what the hell he can do. And at the end of the year, you cut him and you draft the other quarterback that you like.
I think Deion Sanders' son, Shador Sanders, will be in 2025 draft. And so will Drew Aller, Ty Simpson, Gunnar Stockton, Devin Brown, Connor Wigman. I mean, these guys, nothing really sticks out. Shador Sanders will be the big name that is going to be available in 2025. So that's where, and Urs, I think, I can't pronounce his name, but that kid, he's going to be available too. So I don't know. I honestly, you look at the Giants right now, I think it's quarterback for them going into this year's draft. Right now, the Patriots are sitting pretty, but next week they play the Giants. And
I'm going to tell you right now, whoever the Patriots draft, I'm afraid of that. Because they're going to draft a quarterback. They're going to draft a quarterback, and they're going to know
as far as what I see right now.
If they do that, I'm going to probably sit in a corner and cry. Because giving Bill Belichick a weapon like that again?
Yeah, but we don't know what he's going to be. We don't know
You're
what
you're right.
going to be. It's not Tom Brady. Yeah, you're going to – I thought when you look at where they are and position that they were in, I expected them to have a pretty good season. And everybody wants to blame the quarterback. Maybe it's the coaching staff. Maybe it's the team as a whole. The offensive line didn't protect him. I mean, there's a lot of questions to throw somebody under the bus. Listen, we all know what Zach Wilson is. We weren't blind. We understand what he is. He's not a good quarterback. But we saw certain things with the Patriots this year that you can't blame the quarterback for the whole situation that they're in. So I understand where everybody sits and they want to blame this guy and they want to blame that guy. It's not that. To me, the Patriots have to understand where they are as a quarterback, as a team now that Tom Brady is gone, and where they're going to be next year when they draft a guy like May, a Drake May, who probably will fall to them. So Mac Jones doesn't look like he's the guy, and understandable. He will be dropped too. That's another quarterback from that. I think it was the same draft class. Mac Jones was 16.
Yep.
And Mac Jones, he didn't pass anybody's thoughts of what he is as a quarterback in the NFL either.
He had a great year the first year, and then after that, it's been just downhill.
He's failed. And so is Zach Wilson. Both guys will be playing for other teams, backing up somebody else on other teams. So I'm not surprised about that. But the Giants are in position. They have a good defense. Wick Martindale's going to be interviewing for more jobs this year. Maybe he wins a job. Maybe he doesn't. But I was very impressed with Dable's coaching job yesterday. I love what I saw with the Giants defensively. And it shows that they have some kind of pulse. And being that they're in a conference that's so weak, why couldn't the Giants make the playoffs? Why couldn't the Giants go on a winning streak? They could. I know Giant fans don't want to hear that, but they want a quarterback. They want a good draft pick, and they don't think that they're good enough to win this year. And they might be right, but being that they're in such a weak conference, why couldn't they? I don't understand. I mean, I'm sitting here and I'm looking at where the Giants are. I keep saying the Jets, but where the Giants are. The Giants are sitting very pretty in the position that they are because there are other teams not winning. The Giants right now, they're 3-8. Washington lost. They beat Washington. And they're 4-7. If they win next week against the Patriots and Washington loses, they're 4-8, and so is Washington. So they jumped a spot. They're not going to catch Dallas. They're not going to catch Philadelphia.
No.
But look at the other teams. Minnesota's 6-5. Minnesota's in one of the spots. I think they're in the final spot.
And they have no quarterback.
And they have no quarterback. Well, they have Dobbs. I like Dobbs. I think
but how long can he keep up
I think
the work that he's been doing?
Atlanta looks like they've given up. They're 4-6, so that division's bad. And Seattle's 6-4. So if the Giants go on a winning streak, and if you look at the Giants' schedule, they're a winnable schedule. They have a pretty good schedule. Well, I don't have this schedule in front of me right now. I'm trying to bring it up here. But if the Giants season were, where are the Giants? I hate this when I'm trying to look for this and I can't find it. The New York Giants. I'm trying to find their schedule here. Right here. All right. The Giants have left. Okay. So they have New England. They have Green Bay. They have the Saints. They have Philadelphia, the Rams, Philadelphia. Okay. They should beat New England. They could beat Green Bay. They could beat the Saints. The Saints are 5-5. They don't know who their quarterback is. I don't even know if their quarterback's healthy enough to come back this year. I don't know where Derek Carr, if he's going to be fully healthy all season long, or if he's coming back. Philadelphia, they might be able to pull off one of those wins against Philadelphia.
Their defense has been good. They could do it.
And they could beat the Rams. They're 4-6. So the Giants could win 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games. If they win 5 games, they have 8 wins. They make the playoffs. The Giants make the playoffs.
Aren't they 4-6 right now? You said
they're 3. They're 3-8. If the Giants win 5 games,
they're 8-9.
They're 8-9. They make the playoffs. They make the playoffs. They do. I mean, the conference is so bad they can make the playoffs. They could sneak into the playoffs. So, yeah, who's to say that the Giants can't do that? I don't know. New England, obviously, going into the game, a lot of Patriot fans want to see them lose because they want Drake May, as you heard Jeff all over. I want Drake May. He looks like he wants to eat somebody's head off. But I think it makes a lot of sense why the Giants could go on a winning streak. I really could see that. I mean, they beat Washington. They beat New England. That's 2 wins in a row. They beat Green Bay. That's 3 wins in a row. They're 4-6. I mean, why not? And I could see that. So there's a lot of questions of where the Giants are going to end up. And I know Dable, he's not going to quit this year. He's not. The New York Islanders, bud. And I wanted to get into this. I'm disgusted. All right. I'm disgusted with this team. Goals right now, they're ranked 29th in the league. Goals against, they're ranked 18th in the league. They're not playing defense. Power play, they're actually ranked 11th in the league, which is
power play has been doing much better than less.
Their penalty killing, which has been one of the better penalty killing in the NHL, is one of the. It's either the worst or the second worst right now in the league. And their penalty minutes, they're 11th in all of hockey. That's not good either. The Islanders. And I feel bad for the goaltending because the goaltenders are averaging about 35 shots a game. and it's probably one of the most in the NHL right now. You sit here and you look at Varlamov and you look at Sorokin. Sorokin's not having a good year, and that has nothing to do with him not making the big save, or him's not. It has something to do with the defense. The defense is horrible. Adam Pelech is still not healthy. Pulak is horrible. They to me, was a bad contract as of right now, what it looks like. They gave Mayfield the extension. He hasn't looked as good as he did.
That line between Pulak and Romanov has been one of the best defensive pairings at 5-on-5 in the NHL.
Yeah, I think Romanov is an overrated player that they traded.
Well, he's in the 99th percentile in defensemen.
I think the Islanders gave up a first round. They gave up a first-round draft pick for Romanov. I think it was a big mistake. I don't.
I completely disagree with that. That's completely incorrect. You're taking a draft pick and don't know who you're going to be getting when you have Romanov, who's currently
a first-round draft pick. You're going to trade a first round and that's a first-line defensive pairing.
Not necessarily. You don't know what it's going to be.
So what you're telling me right now is you're going to take Romanov, who wasn't as good a defense as a first-round draft pick. We've seen guys like I don't know who did Pittsburgh just got in the offseason. What I forget the defenseman that they brought in from San Jose. Erik Karlsson, who was the defensive player of the year last year. He won the Norris Trophy. They didn't even have to give up a first-round draft pick for him. They gave up a first-round draft pick for Romanov. For me, as an Islander fan, I'm not going to sit here and make any excuses. Lou Lamoriello needs to go. He needs to go. He's old. He's not the same GM that we saw with the New Jersey Devils. Yes, he won back-to-back GM of the year. He made that trade, those two trades that helped the Islanders get into the playoffs and go far. But what have those guys done so far? Pajot has been horrible. He doesn't even have a goal this year, I don't think. And then you look at guys like what's his name again from Long Island? He hasn't been good either. So their third line is one of the worst third lines in hockey. Anders Lee, has 2 goals? Yeah, and this
he's been really bad. The Islanders' problem this year is not. You want to sit there and say, if you just look at goals for, you're going to say, oh, it's goal scoring. But there are 6 games this year that I can go look at right now where they have blown a third period lead, where they scored 3 more goals. If you score 3 more goals in the NHL, you should be winning. They had the Devils where they let up 4 power play goals.
It's Kyle Palmer.
They scored 4 goals. They scored 4 goals that game. That's the game they should have won. Now the game against the Avalanche where they lost 7-4. That's the game they should have won. They scored 4 goals. They were also winning tied in the third period at one point. Then he got no points out of that. Then you want to go to the game against the Red Wings where they lost in overtime, where they were winning by 2 goals in the third period. Then you want to go to the game against Carolina. They were up 3-0. They should have won that. They got 1 point out of it. Then you have the game against the Canucks where they lost in overtime and they were winning 3-1 at one point. You have the game against the Kraken. They were winning in the third period and they blew another lead against the Flames where they just ended up winning in the shootout and they almost lost that game. You look at all of that and if they won and closed out in the third period right now, that's 5-6 points that they would be adding. They currently have 17 points. You then add the 6 and they are in second place in the division right now. So you want to sit there and say that goal 4 is the problem. Sure, they're not scoring as many goals as they should be. If you're looking at it on paper, definitely. But in games where overall this year, they should have won at least 5 more games.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda. I don't.
The problem right now is not the roster. The problem right now for the team
is the roster.
You have a coach that is not making adjustments in the third period and continually blowing a lead late in the game. It's happened 12 times out of 17 games. That is a coaching issue. That is not the roster. The roster is putting them in a place to win, and your coach is either overcoaching and blowing the lead, or they are not making the adjustments at all and getting outcoached and losing.
They're not doing enough, and they're not scoring enough.
The issue is not the roster. They are scoring plenty.
Engvall stinks.
How many games did I just list where they scored 3-4 goals and they blew it in the third period? Every single one of those I listed. And that's 6 points that they should be adding on to what they have right now. They're being second place in the division.
Right now, if you go up and down their roster is not an NHL.
But you're sitting here saying, looking at their roster, when their roster has put them in position multiple times.
Yeah, but they're a 2-line team, really. They're that's what they are. Their second line, their first line stinks. Okay, I'm sorry, Matthew Barzal. It stinks. Bo Horvat
They're
is
on
not
5-game point streaks.
good for them.
And Horvat.
Yeah, Barzell and Horvat. How many goals does Matthew Barzell have this year? 3 goals. This is a guy that we're paying almost $9.5 million.
But you're only looking at goals. It's so much more than that.
But that's what he is. He's a sniper. Everybody thought
no, he's not. He's never been. He
hasn't been because they were making excuses that he didn't have a player.
Even when they drafted,
now he does.
He was
still not scoring.
That's never what he was in his career. Even in the CHL, he was never a sniper. If you were expecting Matthew Barzell to score 30+ goals in his career,
yes,
then that's not what he is.
No, but then he's not worth $9.5 million. Then he's not worth $9.5 million.
He is 100% worth $9.5 million.
Oh, I don't think so. How should he be worth $9.5 million? Has he ever had a 100-point season?
No.
Has he ever had an 80-point season?
Yes.
Once. Yep. One time in his whole career. One time. And in how many years has he played in the NHL? 8? 9?
No, can't be 8 already.
Yeah,
this is
a long time.
6.
It's been a pretty long time. Go look at where Matthew Barzell is and how long he's been in the league.
I think this is 6. That was 2018.
I don't know. I'm trying.
That was 2017, 2018 when he had that year with for 85 points to win the Rookie of the Year.
I don't know when he was drafted. He's 26 years old. He came into the NHL March 18th. It was the 18th.
I'm not going to count the 2 games.
It was the 18th.
1, 2,
18th,
3,
19th,
4, 5, 6.
22.
This is his 7th year.
His 7th year. So 7 years in the NHL, he's never had more than 180-point season, and he's making $9.5 million.
If you look at last year, before his injury, he had 51 points in 58 games. He was probably going to have 80 points that year, or very close to it.
Probably. Guy can't stay healthy.
That was the only time he's ever been injured.
I'm sorry?
That was the only real time he ever missed significant time with injury.
And Barzell has 4 goals, not 3 goals. But
4, okay.
Yeah.
But if you look at the year before, he had played 73 games. That was really probably a bad year for him. The first year I classify as a bad year. The year before that, he had 45 points in 55 games. The year before that, he had 60 and 80. Like, he's still been producing a good amount of points. He's not a guy that if you're looking at the score of the goals, that's not what he is.
I didn't say that. I'm saying that you're overpaying. You're overpaying players.
Paying him to be a 30-goal plus scorer. That you're paying him to give the puck to the 30+ goal scorer to become more than a.
How many times has Bo Horvat been a 30-goal scorer?
Many times.
No, he hasn't.
Yes, he has.
No, he hasn't.
Yes, he has. He did it in last year. He had 30. I'm trying to do math. Hold on. 38 goals. The year before that, he had 31. The year before that, he had 19 and 56. The year before that, he had 22, 27, 22, and 20.
1, 2, 3. 3 times he's had 30 or more goals. 3 times. That's it.
But he's also only 28.
Yes.
But you look at
he's on the down end of his career. When you hit 30, and when you're 30 years old, you're really unless you're a superstar, which Bo Horvat isn't. He's not a superstar.
I don't agree with that. If you're saying superstar, like Crosby, no. But
you start to fall off when you're in your early 30s.
Early 30s. So he probably has another 4 more years of easily being able to score another 30 to 40 goals. What you're paying Matthew Barzell to do is to be the guy that takes him from a guy who can score 35 goals a year every year to being able to be scoring 40 to 45 goals every year. That is what you're paying Matthew Barzell to do.
You're right now. Bo Horvat in 16 games has 5 goals and 9 assists. That's not
14 points in 16 games.
That's not good because
that's good. That's good.
I don't think it's good.
If you think that's not good, then I don't know if you know what.
How much is
having a point per game is very good.
A point per game. When you're paying a guy this kind of money, he's got to be better than
$8.5 million. Having a point per game is good.
If he's a goal scorer, he should have more than 5 goals, not 9 assists. And honestly,
it's a team sport.
I play hockey. I know.
Good.
I know all about hockey.
You're saying you all know about it, but you're saying
I don't think Bo Horvat is any good. I think he's overrated. And
I think that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Well, good. and you might hear some more dumb things on this show.
Hey, go ahead, say it. I'll keep on saying
I think Bo Horvat is one of the most overrated players at his position.
I think that's idiotic.
He's the only thing he's good at is winning faceoffs. Everything else overrated. And honestly, when you look at his numbers and what he is getting paid now, he shouldn't be making the money that he's making. He's not worth the money that he's getting right now.
That's absolutely incorrect.
Well,
that's absolutely
incorrect. Absolutely. Well, I can name players that are much better than him that are making less than he is. So
go for it.
If I could pull up the thing, I don't have it on list, but I'll guarantee you next week when I'm on the show, I will pull up guys that have better numbers than he does and that are making less money than him, at least $1 million less than him. He shouldn't be making the money that he is, and I think he's overrated. You said
he went to UFA to be hit UFA, he would have gotten 9.5, 10.
I'm sorry.
If he hit UFA on July 13th, he would have been making probably closer to 10 million.
Why would your own GM make a joke and say that he's overpaid? Why would he? Why would your GM?
No idea where he
why Lou Lamoriello came out and made a joke that he's overpaid? Okay,
I have no idea what
Lou was thinking that because Lou was actually thinking that he had to.
However, hold on, Lou has also said
because nobody else wants to play there.
Lou has said this before in every year that all the top players are overpaid this year. He has said that every single year.
Well, good for him. Lou has made a mistake after mistake after mistake. Pajot is an absolute bust.
He's right though. That's what the guys are getting this year. If you want to sign a top player, you have to give them that money.
He's a waste.
You're not going to be able to sign. You know what? Barzell, a fair market deal, maybe 7. But at the end of the day, here's the thing: he's gonna would have gotten way more if he hit UFA. He would have gotten more than that. So if you want to keep your star player, you have to give them the money.
Star player that hasn't done as much as he should be doing.
And if you want to sign a guy on free agency, you're going to have to give them that money.
I'm going to take your words for it because I think Matthew Barzell is still their best player. I look at him if he's not scoring goals, he's looked at as overrated. He needs to put the puck in the net. If he's not doing it, he's overrated. He needs to do it.
If Barzell scores 20 to 25, that's a good year, goal scoring wise.
He needs
but here's the thing: like I said, you are paying him $9 million to not be the goal scorer, to take the goal scorer and make him score more.
You want him to be the facilitator, and that's still not enough when you're talking about a player of that.
But that's the kind of player he is. He's the player that's going to be making guys around him better. He's the player that's going to be giving them the puck, going to be opening up space for the goal scorer.
All right,
that's what he does.
I disagree. Let's get into the New York Rangers that are right now are just playing fantastic hockey. They really do look good. There's nothing.
I was very impressed with what they did against the Devils, coming off for their bye and 5 days off.
I love everything that I see with the New York Rangers. That has a lot to do with Peter Laviolette. The young players, Capocacos look good. Lafreniere look good. They're really firing on all pistons. They've been everything that I expected them to be with Peter Laviolette. It's been impressive. I know it's still early in the season. I know they've only played 15 games, but these 15 games will only tell me and has only shown me that this Ranger team is as good as any hockey team right now in the NHL. That's how explosive they are. Defensively, they've been very impressive. They lose Adam Fox. It doesn't even matter. It's completely hidden the loss of Adam Fox. Yeah, it's just I've been very, very impressed with the New York Rangers in every kind of way. Panarin's having an MVP year. He's been fantastic.
He's been tremendous. He's been Panarin.
Chris Kreider's been great too. I mean, and their goaltending. I mean, Shesterkin, and then obviously Jonathan Quick, who I said was a huge pickup in the offseason, veteran guy who's won 3 Stanley Cups, understands how to win. A Conn Smythe Trophy winner. I thought he was fantastic, and he's been fantastic so far early this season.
I think Igor has been okay.
He's been good.
He's been good, but he hasn't been Igor from a few years ago. He has a .912 save percentage, .244 goals against average. That's okay. That's not bad. And when you're a high scoring team like the Rangers, that's good enough to win.
They're 7-2 with him in the net, so that's all they have to do.
Yes, but you know what? They're a high scoring team. You could probably let's look at what Colorado did a few years ago when they had terrible goaltending and they won the cup. When you are a high scoring team, you don't need the best goaltending. If he ends up putting average numbers up, which is .244, .912 is average numbers. if he continues doing that, the Rangers will still be fine because they're a very good goal scoring team.
The
They're
Rangers
going to put him in positions to win.
The Rangers are fine. Right now,
there's nothing to worry about with that.
There really they have nothing to worry about. They should win that division. Even if they start to lose a couple of games in a row, the Rangers are the best team right now in the Metropolitan.
At this point, they are the best team in that division.
I think they are. I think they're going to win the division very easily. Okay, that's what I think. Peter Laviolette has done everything, and I said he was going to change the whole outlook to this Ranger team. He's been fantastic. He's been fun. He's made this team fun to watch. They playing defense. They're playing both sides of the puck. I love everything I see right now with the New York Rangers. There's nothing to say bad about this team and the way this team is being run. And I'm going
to probably say a hot take right here.
Go ahead.
But the way that the rest of the division is playing, the Rangers should be able to win division. And if the Islanders fix their third period, they should be able to get a wild card.
I don't think the Islanders are making the
Well, I don't think they'll fix their third period, but if that does happen, I think they could sneak into a wild card based off the way the rest of the division's playing. The Flyers aren't going to be able to hold this up. They're not built for that. Washington is not good. They are third in the division, 20 points. They have 39 goals for in 15 games played. That's not good. The Penguins are just not a good team defensively. They've been playing much better as of late, but I don't expect them to be what they were of the past. I think they're going to be a fringe team. They're very beatable. The Devils have no goal scoring. Carolina, they're going to figure it out, and they're going to compete with the Rangers at some point for the division. But, you look at it, I think the Rangers and Carolina are the only two teams I look at.
Carolina's overrated.
Huh?
I think Carolina's overrated. I think they stink.
They do a phenomenal job at controlling the pace of play. And that if you
doesn't work in the playoffs, as we've seen.
You're 100% correct with that. But right now, we're talking about with the division. The only two teams I 100% sit here and say will be able to make the playoffs are Rangers and Carolina.
Watch out for Philadelphia. That's all I'm going to say. I said that in the beginning of the year. Watch out. They're young and they're fun and they're fast. I'm telling you, watch out for Philadelphia. Let's finish up with the NBA because we have a little bit more time. The New York Knicks are playing fantastic basketball right now. They started off a little slow, and there was a lot of questions to certain players, the pickup. But here's what I love about the Rangers and what I've seen. When R.J. Barrett's in the lineup, they're a different team. They're a completely different team. R.J. Barrett has been as good as I expect him to be going into a fourth year of basketball. He's been fun. He's averaging over 23 points a game. He's done it about 22 points a game. He didn't look good the last two games, but he's been efficient. He's been consistent, and that's something that it stands out for the New York Knicks. And here's the thing: Brunson is as good as he was last year, and now you're starting to look at the New York Knicks and seeing what Leon Rose did when they made that move in bringing Jalen Brunson and how smart of a move that was, because that changes the whole outlook to the New York Knicks. If they could trade Julius Randle and they could bring in another star, I've heard they want to bring in another big man, athletic big man. That's great. You want to bring in Karl Anthony Towns? Is he going to fit here? Does he work with Tom Thibodeau? He was ready over there with the Timberwolves when Tom Thibodeau was there, and it didn't work. So does that work? If that doesn't work, did it
not work because of him, or did it not work because of other reasons surrounding him?
Maybe that. I don't know. But Tom Thibodeau wanted certain players to play over there, and it didn't work out. And that made him look. You brought Jimmy Butler in, and then he had a problem with Karl Anthony Towns. It didn't work out. And there was complaining and obviously confrontation with who was messing with whose girlfriend. I don't know the whole situation behind it, but Tom Thibodeau took Jimmy Butler's side, really. And the cat he wasn't really happy about it. Now, Tom Thibodeau now is coaching the New York Knicks. He would be very excited to bring in a Karl Anthony Towns to the New York Knicks. There's a lot of questions over there if the Knicks bring in Karl Anthony Towns. What are they going to give up for Karl Anthony Towns? Is he worth giving up pieces like that to bring in Karl Anthony Towns? There's a lot of questions, and I don't know if we're going to get the answers until the trade deadline, but this team is 8-5. They're right now, if the season were to end, I think they're a 5th seed, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure. I'm trying to pick up and see where the standings are, but The Knicks are a 6 seed right now. They're 8-5. They're tied with Orlando and Miami. So all three of them are 8-5. Miami's starting to pick up the pace and pace right now. So there's obviously the Eastern Conference is going to be wide open all the way to the end. And there's a lot of good young players right now in the Eastern Conference that are starting to really flourish and really develop. So,
and I feel bad for Cam Thomas, who was started off doing great. He was averaging about 30 points a game the first few games of the year with the Nets, and then he went down. The team hasn't been the same. Sometimes when you're a young player and you start off really hot, a injury right at that time can really derail your momentum when you're a young player in any sport. And if you can keep up playing well when you're a young player and putting up stats, like, it builds confidence. And when you get an injury like that, when he comes back, will he be able to produce like that?
I think he will. He's young. The thing is I don't think the Brooklyn Nets are a playoff team. I don't. They're playing decent basketball. Losing Thomas definitely hurt them.
Oh,
you can see the difference.
But here's the thing: you just have to be a top 10 team in your conference to make the playoffs.
Well, it's not the playoffs; it's the play-in.
But like, I think if they get top 10, one game.
Are they better than the Raptors? I don't think so. Are they better than Chicago? Even though Chicago's 5-9 right now, I can't believe how bad Chicago's looked. I thought they were a lot better than they looked, and they were early in the season. I think they won like 4 games. They were like 4-0 or something like that, and they've fallen apart. I don't know what's going on with that. I love Donovan. Billy Donovan is one of the best basketball minds in the NBA as a head coach. I have no idea why this team is playing right like this. They're 5-9. They're a 12th seed, and every other one of those teams. I think Detroit obviously is choking again. They're trying to get as many first-round draft picks to rebuild this team and this organization because Detroit has weapons. Ivy looks like he's a great player. Cade is also Cade. I'm sorry, Cade is a good player too. So they have players. They have weapons. I don't understand how Detroit is 2-12 right now early in the season. Washington was expected. They traded Kristaps Porzingis. They're going to trade Kyle Kuzma, even though they signed him. They'll trade him at the trade deadline. He'll be a real hot commodity if a team's interested in bringing another, a 3, or you could put Kyle Kuzma as a possible 4 too. I mean, he's long and he has the ability to play multiple positions because he can rebound. So I think there's a lot of teams that I think are going to fall out. I'm surprised Atlanta's 6-6. I think they were a good team. I like their backcourt. They have one of the more underrated backcourts in the NBA. Trae Young is not the same player he was 2-3 years ago. So there's a lot of questions right now in the NBA and with the Knicks. I think the Knicks are going to be a playoff team. I've been very impressed with the Knicks and the way they've played, and they're getting stuff from Mitchell Robinson now. Mitchell Robinson's starting to play. Julius Randle's back and forth. And that's why the Knicks are maybe a player away from competing for this division. I don't think Boston's that much better than them. I don't think Philadelphia is that much better than them. I think Boston has the most depth in the Eastern Conference because they had a Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday. I think they have a lot of depth in their front 5 is as good as any front 5 right now in the Eastern Conference. But there's a lot of questions with them. Can they win the big game? Can they win a 7-game series against a team that's going to be gritty and is going to push them around?
So I need you to explain something for me, okay? Because I don't understand this. Now, the NBA season normally is 82 games. With the play-in tournament, are they playing more than 82? Or are they still playing a total of 82?
They're playing 82 games.
Total
games. 82.
But do those games from the play-in tournament count to your regular season?
100%. 100%. They're playing for money. That's what this tournament's all about. It's about bringing in endorsements. That's what they're doing. They're bringing jersey sales. I mean, with the new floors and everything like that, everything they're trying to sell right now, the NBA is trying to sell is you win this. If the one team wins this tournament, each player gets $700,000, including the coaches. That's $700,000 more in your pocket that you're winning. So of course they're going to want to win this tournament. I think there should be more that you win if you win this tournament. I think it becomes more important for these players to play because right now, what are you playing for? $700,000? What happens if you don't play in this tournament at all and your team wins the tournament? You still get the $700,000? That's not fair.
That's a good question.
That's not fair.
That's easy money.
I mean, that's not fair. And that's where I look at it. But obviously the world isn't fair. And in the NBA, with Adam Silver running the organization, that isn't fair because he lets LeBron James make the calls, and the calls are the way LeBron James makes it, where he wants it to fall. So I don't agree with anything that's going on right now in the NBA. I think that the NBA is not really worth watching until the second half of the season. And that's usually, I would say, after the All-Star break, which is right around the end of January. That's where I would think January, February, somewhere around there is where you would start watching the NBA. There's nothing that really sticks out to me right now on saying, oh, this team's going to be a playoff team, because you really don't know. I think you already know who's going to make the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. Boston, the 76ers, Milwaukee, Miami, Orlando, the Knicks.
The only question is probably the second.
Cleveland. Those are the 8 teams. All the other teams, Atlanta could sneak in, Brooklyn, Toronto, Chicago. But I think it's Boston, Philadelphia, Milwaukee, Miami, Orlando, New York, Indiana, Cleveland. Those are the 8 teams that are definitely going to make the playoffs.
I think the only thing that you don't know is 9 and 10 that could slip in through the play-in crap, which I think is stupid, by the way. I think it's the dumbest crap in the world.
Well, you can thank Adam Silver, and you can thank everything what is going on in the NBA through the executives and ownership right now.
I think the NBA has been ruined as a sport. To me, it's been ruined.
It's not ruining, because it's the number 2 sport right now in America when it comes to popularity. So
you're right about that. They're still making the money, but from a person who's watching it, let's be honest. 90s and I'll say 2000s NBA was far and away 90s, so much more better than this.
Well, because the 90s had teams that hate each other and they play defense.
You don't have that anymore because you can't touch the other person anymore. Well, back then in the 90s, you could have a little contact between each other. You can
thank LeBron James for that. You can thank LeBron James for that, because it's all fallen on LeBron James' bitching and moaning. It's always been. And LeBron James is, as much as everybody thinks he's helped the game, he's ruined the game. And again, guys like James Harden, who's a flopper, everybody. I sit here and watch the game. I don't even want to sit and watch the games anymore, because to me, if you put a pinky on him, you step in the way of somebody going to the hole and he trips on your foot, that's your fault. In the old NBA in the 90s, it's no holds barred. You go up for a layup, you better be ready to be thrown to the rafters if it comes down to it, if you're trying to dunk the ball. It's not like that anymore. That's a flagrant 2. You could be thrown out of the game if you throw somebody. So it's different. And you see guys like Draymond Green trying to choke people to death. I mean, how is he only get a 5-game suspension? That has everything to do with Adam Silver and the NBA, because they kiss everybody's ass. They kiss the player's ass. That guy should have been suspended for the season. Well, for half the season. For what? Look what they did look what David Stern did to Ron Artest. Ron Artest, he went crazy, threw something when the fans were throwing things at him. Yes, he did swing at a fan. Yes, he did all that.
I think that's a little bit different.
No, it's not. When you're trying to choke out
I think when you're going after a fan, that's
well, hold on one second. Ron Artest didn't try to kill somebody. He just tried to protect himself. I mean, Draymond Green tried to choke him to death. Okay, he had him in a rear naked chokehold. I mean, he wasn't going to let go if the other players weren't pulling him off. He would have put him to sleep. So that has a lot to do with and to me, 5 games is just it's an absolute joke. And I think that has everything to do with LeBron James and Adam Silver and the players union. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's disgusting. And I think the NBA needs to look more into the new CBA when it becomes available to do that, when it goes up. So I don't like it. I think the NBA needs to be changed. Really more different than it's ever been. It's been bad. So that's it for our show, man. I mean, we went through. Yeah, it was. We went into obviously all the football. We went into the Jets, the Zach Wilson transformation or non-transformation. I mean, it's a new day and age, and it will be the boil age. I don't know how much it's going to boil before everybody wants to boil water and throw it at him. So I don't think that the Jets are in a good spot. The Giants could win a couple of games. Their schedule really varies and puts them in a very good position to possibly win. And the Knicks, like we said, they're playing good basketball. They're 8-5, and they're crawling up the charts of the Eastern Conference. And then the Islanders, they're still in the mix. I think the Islanders are not making the playoffs. I know you do. You think they could be a wild card team?
No. I said that if they fix their third period woes, they could. But I then said I don't think they will. I said I don't think they will. but I said if they can.
They got to fix that third line. That third line is horrible. It's just really bad. And they need to figure that out. But and that defensive pair
is anchoring that third line down and hurting it a lot.
Where are you going to put him? I tell you, try to trade him, but nobody's going to want that contract. Nobody's going to want that contract.
They're going to buy him out at the end of the year, probably.
I hope so. They need to do something. How are you going to buy out a guy that still has, 3 years left on his contract? I don't know if they're going to buy that out. I can't see it, but whatever.
They'd be saving money on the cap the next few years if they did that.
We'll see. We'll see. Anyways, great show, my friend. I guess we'll see you. I'll see you next week, and we'll talk, man. I'm looking forward to it. Do we have any guests next week?
No, because our guest was afraid of you.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yes. Yes, I forgot about our fearful, guest writer for the New York Islanders. I will mention his name because I care. Stefan Rosner, the writer, aka Mr. I want to hide under my desk and put my tail between my legs. But whatever. Anyways, I love you, man, and I'm looking forward to next week, and we'll be back. Good night, everybody.